This is the hidden system that prevents elevators from falling, and most people who ride them every day have no idea it exists. Americans alone take 18 billion elevator trips per year, and the reason none of those trips end in freefall comes down to a chain of mechanical safeguards invented over 170 years ago that still form the backbone of every elevator running today. Here's exactly how it works. Every time you step into an elevator, you are placing yourself inside a metal box suspended by cables over a shaft that can drop hundreds of feet. Before 1852, that reality carried genuine risk, because if the cable holding a hoist platform snapped, the platform fell and nothing could stop it. Freight hoists had been moving between floors in American buildings since 1850, but nobody rode them voluntarily, and architects capped buildings at 5 or 6 stories because of it. That ceiling held until a single afternoon in 1854, when Elisha Graves Otis rode a platform high into the air at the New York Crystal Palace Exposition and ordered the rope cut. The platform dropped a few inches and stopped cold, caught by a spring mechanism connecting the top of the hoist to the overhead lifting cable, and that device became the first elevator safety brake in history. 3 years later, on March 23, 1857, the first commercial passenger elevator opened at the E.V. Hoffaut & Company store in New York for a total installation cost of $300, and people traveled from miles away just to ride it. Cities were never built the same way again. Modern elevator safety is not one thing. Engineers call it a safety chain, and the logic behind it deliberately inverts the way most systems work. One break in the chain stops the elevator rather than allowing anything worse to happen. Layer 1 is the cables. A typical elevator car hangs from 2 to 6 separate suspension ropes, each strong enough to hold the full rated weight of the car plus an additional 25% on its own. And American regulations require enough cables that normally only 1 of 8 is needed to support a full load. Layer 2 is the counterweight, matching the mass of the car on the opposite end of the cable, because without that balance, a fully loaded elevator would race downward the moment any brake released. Layer 3 is the governor, and this is the piece almost nobody knows about. Separate from everything else, the governor is a heavy flywheel with mechanical arms inside it that runs continuously while the elevator moves. If the car ever falls faster than its rated maximum speed, those arms fly outward and lock the flywheel in place, which sends a sudden jolt through the governor rope connected to the car, and that jolt triggers Layer 4. Layer 4 is the safety brakes, a set of mechanical clamps called safeties that drive into the steel guide rails along the shaft walls and bring the car to a controlled stop in about 6.5 inches. Not a free fall, a grip and a halt. Layer 5 sits at the bottom of the shaft. Buffers designed to absorb the energy of a descending car if every layer above somehow failed. In the modern era, they almost never activate. On July 28, 1945, a B-25 Mitchell bomber traveling at 200 miles per hour got lost in thick fog above Manhattan and tore into the Empire State Building between the 78th and 80th floors. One of the plane's engines ripped into elevator shaft number 6. Severed the governor rope and stripped the safety brakes of the signal they needed to engage, then cut the hoist ropes entirely. The elevator dropped 75 floors with one person inside. That person was Betty Lou Oliver, a 20-year-old elevator operator who stayed fully conscious for the entire fall. "I started yelling and pounding on the floor," she told her sister from her hospital bed, as reported by the Courier News. "I was going down so fast that I just had to hang onto the sides of the elevator to keep from floating." 2 things kept her alive. The shaft's tight clearances compressed the air below the falling car like a piston and slowed the descent, and the severed cables had coiled at the bottom in a spiral that cushioned the impact. Betty survived with a broken neck, back, and pelvis, spent 4 months at Bellevue Hospital, and 5 months after the crash returned to the Empire State Building and rode an elevator. Her fall of approximately 1,000 feet remains the longest survived elevator fall ever recorded. What the accident exposed was a specific flaw. The governor rope had been positioned on the outside wall of the shaft where debris could reach it. From that point forward, high-rise elevator safety systems were relocated to the side of the shaft farthest from the exterior wall. The vulnerability was found, studied, and closed. The last documented freefall of an occupied elevator under non-disaster conditions happened in 1932 in Brazil. Since then, redundant cables, counterweights, centrifugal governors, safety brakes, and shaft buffers have made the catastrophic plunge that Hollywood keeps putting in its movies effectively impossible in everyday circumstances. Over 20 million elevators and escalators currently operate around the world, carrying more than 325 million people every single day. In the United States, 18 billion annual trips produce roughly 20 to 30 elevator-related deaths per year, most involving maintenance workers and almost none involving freefall. The thing people actually fear almost never happens because every elevator running today is built around the same idea Otis proved with a cut rope and a spring in 1854. Design the system so that any single failure brings everything to a stop. It stays hidden not because anyone is keeping a secret, but because it works so well that the people riding inside never need to think about it.